So yeah, that same power plant that we questioned and said that they might be covering something bigger, now says that they had to temporarily shut down after a new leak of radioactive water was detected. Minnesota power plant, the same one that had the previous leak, is now saying that they have some other kind. It says a Minnesota nuclear plant where 400,000 gallons of radioactive water leaked last year is temporarily shutting down after discovering a smaller leak this week. Xcel Energy said that it will begin powering down its plant in Monticello on Friday to expedite repairs needed to permanently resolve a leak of tritium-contaminated water. The length of this shutdown has not yet been determined, but should not impact customers' electric service, the Minneapolis-based utility company said. This is infrastructure. This is a power plant. It is a nuclear power plant, and it is yet another environmental disaster, I'm sure. This, among all of the other weird events, are going to be talked about on today's show, so stick around. We'll be right back right after this. You have made yourself here at Marfoogle News, so stick around. This is going to be good. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It's Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a lot to go over in a short amount of time, so if you're new here, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com and find today's thumbnail. Our site is very easy organized. They're going to be on three fronts, and you can find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we talk about here today. It is a live show, so anything can happen. If you lose any kind of connection with us, make sure to go over to the website and see what goes on. And then also make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/friends. Go check out our mods that are volunteers down there that are keeping the chat awfully peaceful and awesome and giving you links when you need them and all sorts of stuff. Make sure to go thank them by going and subscribing. Our page makes it extremely easy. You can just go click the red button. A lot of them are coming up on different milestones, so make sure to go check those out. All right, and then let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am still a little froggy, but I'm doing just fine.
Well, what's funny is the Roboto went, but he's actually... He sounds bad without the Roboto, so let me fix the audio real quick. Hold on. I don't know what's going on there, why it's not popping up, but let's see. Yeah, well, Dex, we'll come back to you here in a second. Even if it didn't just go Roboto on you, Dex sounds pretty bad. He sounds worse than yesterday, so I'll try not to call on you too much. And then, so first of all, the leak, that's another weird event that has happened again. Many are talking about, are some of these not so coincidental, right? Somebody in the chat says that's not a coinkydink, right? I'd love to hear your opinion on it down below in the chat. So make sure to tell me what you think is going on here. A lot of infrastructure is being affected. And if you really add up the big picture of the United States is having all sorts of weird events happening all over the country. So it is very, very odd. And then we have the United and Archer will open an air taxi route to Chicago's O'Hare Airport in 2025. These are, again, air taxis. Archer Aviation and United Airlines announced a partnership today to launch a commercial air taxi route in Chicago. The companies plan to open the flight path between downtown and O'Hare International Airport in 2025. If the planet is still here, of course. Besides being United headquarters and largest hub, Chicago's airport commute makes it an ideal test bed for flying taxis. For example, the drive from Orr to O'Hare in the western suburb of Rosemont can take anywhere from 35 minutes to over an hour, depending on traffic. Even in one city's elevated trains, it can take about 45 minutes. But Archer estimates that a flight in one of its air taxis will only take 10 minutes to travel from O'Hare to its destination in downtown at a destination helipad. So flying taxis are coming. It's something that we've talked about many times as far as, Saudi Arabia already has these things running. And the drone technology that they have now can transport humans. The military is already using all sorts of different things in the military. In fact, they even have personal transports for people that are basically mini single drones that will take them over a wall. If they come across a 40-foot wall, they can literally drone right over it. It's pretty crazy to think. Again, the civilian side of it sees things like, Casey Neistat dressed up as Santa being flown over a snowboard hill, hanging off a drone. But in the military, they are way, way ahead. That is all coming down the pipeline to, just regular life. Air taxis is something crazy to think about because we have always thought in society that, at some point we would have flying cars. And that's exactly what's going to happen. But there is an evil side to almost everything. And I promise you, when they get to the point where in 2025, that same year, they're supposed to have cars being manufactured with different stoppages so that drunk driving won't exist. There's new things going into place to basically make sure that future cars are going to be manufactured with a digital aspect that has some sort of deterrence against drunk driving. Why this matters to this whole airport thing is because in the future, you will have a car that if it deems you, drunk or sleepy or tired, it will not let you drive. That same car, since it is remotely able to have it stopped, that means that they could end up controlling our travel. As far as these flying taxis and things, this might be the convenient kind of out for people. They'll take the flying taxis. Of course, travel between with humans is now going to be looked at in the next couple of years. If you know what is going on with all of the different taxes that are going to be going into place and how our footprint will matter in the future, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Freedom of travel is something that we take for granted right now, and it's not something that should ever be given up. But as far as this is coming in as a convenience. It's pretty crazy that we now are going to have flying taxis, right? Saudi Arabia and other places kind of forefronted this, and apparently it is working well. Chaos in Paris as police fire tear gas at protesters and baton charge crowds. So one thing you have seen, and you might have seen on my Twitter if you follow me over there at Marfoogle, is that the firemen and policemen, a lot of them are actually joining these protests. It says that chaos in Paris as police fired tear gas at protesters and baton charged crowds as 800,000 march through the capital to demonstrate against pension reforms. There have been fresh chaos in the streets of Paris today, with protesters clashing with police as thousands demonstrated the controversial pension reforms pushed through Parliament last week. Police fired tear gas and baton charged crowds on the Grands Boulevard thoroughfare after some protesters were seen throwing stones and directing fireworks at the security forces. It says elsewhere in the march, fires were lit and blazed in the street with pallets and piles of uncollected rubbish set ablaze, leading firefighters to intervene. Now, again, firefighters have been joining these crowds. I don't know how many, but we've seen videos of not only police but firefighters actually switching side mid-confrontation. They put their hands up. They basically say, I'm on your side. They take off their helmets and they join. We've also seen videos of the firefighters and the police walking through a crowd of protesters and everybody cheering. The thing is that what that shows is that pretty much everybody is pissed off there. It's not just one side or the other. There are people in the streets basically doing a mini revolution right now. I believe media is definitely putting its skew on things. As you can see, there is a lot of chaos there. Is it good or bad chaos? That opinion is different all over the world. So things all over the world are really getting dicey, and it's not getting any better. Dex, go ahead.
800,000 is a lot of people. And this is getting to a pretty high number, and it'll be interesting to see if this number continues to grow, especially as we come into the weekend. This event could turn out to be something much bigger than just news headlines of blocked highways and barricaded areas where the people are setting fires and stuff. So obviously they're not backing down. They don't have representation with this issue because they thought they were going to have a vote in parliament, and then boom, the president just said, you know what, I found another way to do it, and you all have to deal with it. So they're not happy. They're very, very upset.
To put that in perspective, some of the biggest, let me put this in here so the peas stop popping. To put that in perspective, some of the largest stadiums in the world are around 50 to 60,000 people. That's 10 times as many people. If you can think of the biggest, most filled stadium, that's how many people they say are on the streets of Paris protesting. That's huge. That is a huge chunk of people that are pissed off, and they are making everyone know. Is this to follow other places, though? What the Paris president did, I don't think they're just going to let it go. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then the TikTok CEO's day in Congress was a disaster. That means the app will still likely get banned or sold. Wall Street says. This is Wall Street execs, and this is saying this. Many do not believe this could happen. What I do see, though, is a big change. Something is going on. They're definitely now pushing the narrative against China, which is strange because we've talked about it for years, and it wasn't that big of a deal. It's like half of the people don't say a word about China, and then the other half are definitely gung-ho about saying, hey, these are the bad guys. Some believe that they do not want TikTok around because they can't control it. But I will say this, from what I hear, TikTok is pretty... there's a lot of things that won't fly on there. There's weird things that get booted off and censored. You can tell that it's different, algorithms and things, but they are definitely censoring a lot of stuff over there as well. Dex, as far as this goes, if TikTok, even if it gets banned, I'm sure they're going to figure out some way that people could still get it. I don't know. How could they? I think something is going to budge with this. I don't know what's going to happen here, but it seems like something is going on between our lawmakers. Everything is getting spicy.
His answers were not that great, at least in the eyes of the lawmakers. I mean, they were asking him, can they still access data? And he's like, well, yes, but not until we fix whatever project we're working on, which is coming up, So there was like all of these answers, and they didn't want him to give his excuse. They wanted him to say yes or no. And in reality, the yes was that the problems that they have are still there. They're not necessarily resolved. They did move the data, I guess, into one of the big tech company, I think it was Oracle. They put it into their data center. But that doesn't solve the problem because they still have access to everything. Ultimately, what has to happen is either it's going to get banned or they're going to have to sell it. And by sell it, they mean sell it off to another company that's not owned by or not doesn't have ties back to Xi, which then has ties to the CCP and has to abide by any of the rules there. And if that's the case, then it can live by the American rules or other rules that America is fine with. Then it'll be okay. But until then, and the flip side, that's just one perspective. The other perspective is, some of the senators said, hey, look, 90% of all these people of a younger demographic are spending all of their time on TikTok and nowhere else. And he said that's kind of a scary thought. Well, what they really meant was they can't control that narrative. They being the government, the U.S. government can't control that narrative, in my opinion, like they do with all other media. So if their entire audience, if the entire population or the younger population is, it's not just about they're being programmed by content from Xi, but they can't actually control the programming of the content here in the U.S. because they can with everything else. All the other major platforms have always been in bed with our government.
Yeah, and as people pointed out, that conservatives and different people are banned on that all the time. They definitely push a narrative up to the top. As we covered, there were ways that they could literally push a button and make something just basically go viral. They could push a button, make a video, go to the very top. We've seen certain narratives on TikTok that have gone viral that basically spread out through media because everybody's talking about it. They are most definitely pushing the new culture stuff. And what's crazy is, like, this is a company that I guarantee you money goes back to their country and back to their leaders. I don't think they would give this thing up for how much information and data they are getting off of this thing. I don't think they would just sell it straight up to a U.S. company. And by the way, they would want a U.S. company that I believe the U.S. government or the people in charge would have, reins over. But as saying, I think it's all, I guess two arms of the same, or two wings of the same bird. I see the same kind of socialist narratives being pushed there. Our youth, this is what our youth is watching 24/7. I mean, you can't understate how little of an attention span people have now in our younger generation. Now, adults that do TikTok, I know most of you, that's a guilty pleasure. But I will say this, could you imagine growing up with TikTok and having that and having 30 to 3 minute videos and you just keep swiping and it's all randomized. It's just like a slot machine of content that you consume, and you get so much out of this little tiny bites of stuff. And then what it's doing in the long term, they don't have data. They haven't looked at this. What are these cell phones and what are these social media platforms going to do to our children? That is something that people do not realize. It is really screwing them up. The weirdest stuff on TikTok, I've talked about it. We were talking about it at dinner with my aunt and uncle last night. I mean, there's just the weirdest things. The older generation definitely doesn't get it. I was telling them how some people just record themselves, at a convenience store selling cigarettes. And they were like, well, so, people watch that? And they're like, yeah, thousands of people. That it's all based on, there was one creator that basically talks about how he has to do trauma content to stay relative. That it doesn't like find people, like if you like fishing, it will show you fishing stuff, but more so, it attaches to feelings and to emotions, and it will actually recommend you content based on that. For example, this gentleman who is a musician, basically he got big and viral off of his videos, these weird TikTok videos of like him singing and dancing to a song that basically references how his parents abused him when he was a kid, that he went through tons of trauma as a child. Well, that went viral and he got really big. And as long as he keeps doing trauma content, basically making jokes about his horrible childhood, then he will get hundreds of thousands of views. But obviously the guy got viral. He doesn't want to just keep talking about that, so he started posting his music. His music doesn't get any views. So then now you can see him. He talks about it in every other video saying, oh, he'll do a song and he'll say, oh, my music is just as relevant as my trauma content. It's like they call that content. People just talking about their issues. People go on there. I mean, it's definitely different for anybody older to see people just crying their hearts out and talking about their most innermost things to millions of random strangers. They say it's therapy, but I think that it's so disturbing to think that even when they're telling this horrible, horrible things about their past, it gets the likes and it gets other people and they find a reason why this is a good thing, right? I don't think it's a good thing. They're getting addicted to those likes, and they want that feedback. And then they go a step further and a step further. I mean, you have a whole sub-niche of people getting their kids taken away because they're showing their messy house so other people with messy houses can relate. I mean, it's just like, and how they parent their kids, and like, I don't understand it. I just don't. And I know a lot of folks do, and I know that there's all sorts of different stuff, but you have to realize that the very root of this is a country that is most definitely fiddling with the world. And I don't even think that can be argued. TikTok is definitely addictive. It's definitely something that anybody, and I swear, if anybody spent more than 15 minutes on that thing, you will go, oh, I kind of get why somebody does this. It's almost like something that they've taken how all of these other social media platforms have made the most addicting thing. And we know they sat in rooms and they said, how can we make this more addicting? It was a big deal. It went to trial. Tons of trials talked about this. And then they found the perfect formula. They made it so where even if you lose concentration, you just swipe to the next and boom, you've gotten more stuff. And then the algorithm teamed up with that. It truly can relate to you because it's knowing you. If you are hooked on that thing, that's probably because they have your bio down and your profile down so well that it is feeding you directly what you want to be fed. And that's kind of scary if you really step outside and think about it. And then it says that China is hunting the world's most elusive particles in a mile beneath the ocean floor. It says that China is building a detector deep beneath the ocean's surface to hunt for the world's most elusive subatomic particles. Every second, tens of trillions of these ghostly neutrinos steam through Earth and your body without interacting with anything. Occasionally, these neutrally charged particles will collide with the stray atom's nucleus, emitting a nearly undetectable spark of light. This spark of light helps scientists not only know that the neutrino was there, but also identify where it might have originated. Some neutrinos come from nuclear reactions within the sun, where atoms fuse together deep within the star. Those fusion reactions release neutrinos, which zip away from the sun within seconds. Some neutrinos come from nuclear fission, such as within nuclear reactors. According to the Department of Energy, even decaying potassium within a banana can release neutrinos. Scientists also recently spotted neutrinos in the Large Hadron Collider for the first time. So connected with anything connected to the CERN is kind of freaky. It says, but some neutrinos come from outside the solar system. These high energy neutrinos may originate from black holes, supernovas, pulsars, or even some other event that scientists haven't observed yet. It's these high energy neutrinos that scientists from the Chinese Academy of Sciences are trying to find. The new detector will be built with 55,000 sensors suspended 0.6 miles beneath the ocean surface, and the project lead researchers Chen Minjun told Xinhua Net, China's state-run news, that the sun rays can't travel that deep, which will help the sensors detect neutrinos and distinguish them from solar neutrinos. The clean water will help increase the chance of detecting neutrino signals. Scientists have to build neutrino detectors in areas with a large amount of transparent materials in order to better spot the unpredictable flashes of light that reveal a neutrino. Existing detectors include the National Science Foundation's Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory in Antarctica, which covers around 0.2 cubic miles with 5,160 sensors, nearly a mile under the ice. It says the Chinese detector won't be only underwater neutrino detector. Russia is building the Baikal gigaton volume detector in Siberia's Lake Baikal, the world's deepest lake. Then there's the upcoming European cubic kilometer neutrino telescope. Why are they doing all of this? Why is every big country going after these neutrinos? This is something is definitely happening here, and it is very, very odd. There's got to be a discovery behind this that we don't know about. Did something happen at CERN where they found out that they need something like this? Dex, when I don't even know what to say about this. Like, it's something that I don't think we've ever really talked about. We've talked about different kind of space stories with neutrinos and things like this. Why are they detecting? And then, by the way, Chinese are doing it with 55,000 sensors. This other one that's in the Antarctic, which kind of explains why there's so much weird activity up there, or a part of it. Why so many more sensors? It's like they are going to do anything they can to find these things.
Well, my first thought was why, which is what you're asking. What do they need this for? It's not like they're really telling us, other than scientific discovery. They know they exist, but they can't. It's hard to detect them, and it is as they call it, the world's most elusive particle. The other thing we need to think about is this is China that's leading this. So here's someone that's leading the edge of technology and science in this case, and we talk all the time about how they continue to advance their capabilities, and they're going to lead this space, apparently. And then the third thought was maybe there's something else this is doing, or some other thing, especially with it being underwater. Is there some other technology that goes hand in hand with this?
Somebody just made a really great comment. Says neutrinos were in the 2012 movie. That was the End of the World movie, right? Movie. Let's see. Oh, wow. Are you kidding? Look at this. And that a lot of people looked at it. It says, and yet Roland Emmerich's 2012, in which John Cusack and Amanda Peet narrowly survive a geological apocalypse caused by mutant neutrinos, which melt the Earth's core, has just been named the most absurd science fiction film of all time by Donald Yeomans, who runs NASA's Near-Earth Asteroid Rendezvous program. It was named the most absurd, yet they are now looking for neutrinos, right? Somebody else says that neutrinos can travel faster than light. I don't know if that is true, but that was fishing tech. Let's see here. Yeah, there was a mutant neutrinos, right? Let's see here. Jeremy says Russian nuclear facility was just hit. We can talk about that here in a second. Stiletto F. Hecker. Let's see here. Just Me, Wendy, says, what if the particles that hit sun that wasn't a volcano explosion, 11421? There's a lot of weird events in the past that you could probably go back to and ask questions there. We need neutrinos with... They're looking for neutrinos. There you go. Perhaps someone should start making antibiotics locally. Well, hey, common sense. Who was that? Bucket O' Rocks. Hey, you're speaking like smart. That's not allowed in today's world. What are you, not on TikTok or something? Neutrinos are very nutritious. What's up, Marfia, Dex Mods, and Marf? MonkMe69, what is happening? Your name reminded me of the other day. That viral video that 6ix9ine got beat up. Pretty crazy. And then Breeze, Smoky Mo, new tree nose. Yes, the tree got a new nose. Dr. Rosenbaum, 9820. I think that's it.
90210.
What am I saying? 90120. 98120. Is that right?
Beverly Hills, 90210.
98120. I'm saying the same thing. 98120. Right? It's not important. 98120. 98210. 210. I got it. And then, before we talk about China detained staff, raids office of the U.S. due diligence firm Mintz Group, I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out Energy. These are some of the best solar generators on the market, and they just got better. They just teamed up with the Air Force Research Laboratory to make the Tactical. The Flex Tactical now has a heater built in fact, an integrated battery heater for use in extremely cold environments. So if you are somebody who gets the tactical version of everything, this is the most badass solar generator that they make now. Again, I believe that most people will be happy with the Flex 1500, which is their original modular solar generator. This is the one I have. But if you are in a climate that does get extremely cold, if you are getting it for SHTF, then that unit will most definitely be an awesome addition. They're expandable and they're modular. So that means you can change the actual structure of this solar generator by adding in different units. They work like Lego blocks, and if you can imagine, you can stack up to 96 of these, 5 in each stack, and you can get as much power as you want. They get their power from solar panels and or your plug-in. You can plug into the wall and charge it extremely fast, or you can plug it even into your car. But the great part about that, as long as you have solar panels, you can actually have power. As long as the sun rises every day, you have power. Even on overcast days, you can get power. A lot of people in Seattle think that they can't get solar generation, but you can. Again, you'll just get less power, but you will get power on overcast days. This is something that's really important right now because obviously there's a lot of threats against our grid, whether it be natural or whether it be supernatural or whether it be, of course, an adversary. This, having power and to have it on demand, is an amazing thing. These are also silent, which means if you want to go stealth, which you do, in an SHTF situation, people from 3 blocks away won't know that you have a generator. That's the bad, the only real big downside of gas other than the $5 a gallon price tag. So again, this, you'll have basically unlimited power as long as the sun comes up the next day, which is pretty amazing. Once you have one of these, you will find a million uses for it. I guarantee it. Anybody who already has one can tell you it is extremely handy to have, even if the power doesn't go out. I've used these things for absolutely everything, going camping, at work, to power drills and to power saws. I mean, it comes in handy all the time. And again, you can also get the X2. All of these will have a small weight. The Kodiak X2, you can actually get really fast. This is all where the battery is built in. That is, again, lithium iron phosphate, so it's the newer technology, and it actually lasts a whole lot longer than a normal lithium phosphate battery because it has a longer and more charge cycles in the battery. After 16 years of using it every single day from full to empty, this thing will still have 80% of its capacity of battery. That's huge. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy. Make sure to go check out all of them. If you want it quick, though, I would make sure to go over and get the X2. All of the others, because lithium is in high demand and in low supply, it is a small weight, but it is definitely worth it. The tactical is pre-order, and you do get $750 off, and that is combined. All of these for the next week and a half are going to have our discount stacked on top of theirs. It's the first time, and we don't know if it will be the last, but I'm hoping it's not, where our discount stacks on top of theirs. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Thank you guys. It supports us. We are independent. We don't have a multi-channel network protecting us. They can't get us back on if something happens. So make sure you go and support through that way. That's much better because you get something out of it. You get a discount, and you, of course, help us at the same time. And you're getting something that could possibly save your life or keep you going through a storm, no matter how big that storm is. Dex, do you want to talk about the China detained staff?
Absolutely. So there's this company called Mintz. It's the Mintz Group. And for all we need to understand is they specialize, it's a large company, they're a multinational company. They specialize in background checking, fact gathering, and internal investigations. So think of them as some high-end PI. Their customers are the National Football League, the City of New York, the Beatles, just to give you some examples. Apparently, the authorities in China decided to roll into their office and arrest everyone. Now, the interesting thing, now we don't know why. The employees in that office were actually nationals that lived in that country. So it's not like these were U.S. citizens working there. They were Chinese nationals that lived in China, obviously, working for that company, performing that service. But for some reason, they rolled in and took the company over, or at least arrested and detained all of the employees. Now, the other interesting thing is that there was, I think Randall Phillips is the person's name, is a partner at the firm who heads up the Asia operations. And part of it is based out of China, but he doesn't actually work in that location. He works in a different location. But he was listed on the website as a former CIA chief representative in China. So we have no idea if there's any connection to any of that. We have no idea if this is some sort of three-letter agency shell company, or if it just so happens that he left the government field and went to the private sector where they make tons of money, and he just took his skill set there. He's not the one that's been detained. It's just the employees in that location. But it certainly piques a lot of curiosity as to what's going on here. We did cover the other day about another company down in Mexico being taken over by the Mexican military, a U.S. company. So this is a similar situation, but in this case, it's not just the military rolling in and standing around everybody. This is literally taking the entire set of employees and detaining them, putting them in different locations so they cannot communicate. And then we have the ties that I just explained as who the company is, what they've done, and who one of the head of the Asia group is, and his previous ties with the three-letter agency. So kind of fishy.
Yeah, the Randall Phillips part, a partner of the firm who heads, says that he's, again, is listed on the website as the CIA's former chief representative in China. Somebody said, geez, you would think that they were spies. And they very well could be. There's spies all over the world from not only our three-letter agencies, but their three-letter agencies are here. Some of them, are running our country right now. So we don't know. But they're all over the place. And then Ilea, thank you. It says Tara Eggers. Let's see here. Says they have payment plans, $187 a month. Yes. That is pretty cool. As far as energy goes, yeah, I think it's 100% worth it to have power. And if you can't afford the solar options, I would get yourself a gas-powered generator. They're louder, but again, to have a generator in general is absolutely awesome. All right, and then Survival Living did a great video on comparing the two and which one you should choose. Solar might not be right for you. So make sure to go over and check out that video. I think most people, though, it's kind of the biggest selling point is that you have unlimited power with the sun. And then China threatens consequences over the U.S. warships' actions in the South China Sea. See a lot of rhetoric right now around the South China Sea. And in my opinion, I believe that this is all part of what is happening and how it's going in a solid direction, that we are heading towards WW3, and it's just about when and not if. And I think that the South China Sea is going to be extremely important. I think that that's why China is investing in this new technology that can create islands faster than ever before. They're going to create more Spratly Islands in other places in the world. Once in their minds, they take Taiwan, they can actually extend that out. From what I have heard from Fugel family Navy currently serving, is that they said, and this I don't think you'll hear this anywhere else, is that China, with their military fishing boats, these fishing boats that have 50 cals on them, that they are scouting outside of Taiwan, past Taiwan, for areas where they can do this. And the reason why they think that is they're using a specialized kind of submersible that looks at the ground and if it can be scooped up and created into an island. So tell me, if they are already possibly planning to make islands beyond Taiwan that are just like Spratly, where they took the dirt off of the bottom of the ocean and then they put that on the actual top and piled it up until they could make an island, tell me that they are not going to try to take Taiwan. Whether it be by force or somehow they pay off the entire government until they, just give in. I think something bigger is coming here. It says that they threatened serious consequences Friday after the United States Navy sailed a destroyer around the disputed Paracel Islands in the South China Sea for the second day in a row, in a move Beijing claimed it was a violation of its sovereignty and security. In my opinion, I don't believe anything like this would ever cause a war. But one thing that like this stuff happens all the time. It would have to be a large-scale event for anything to be kicked off. This kind of little stuff happens all the time. We cover it because obviously it is a, back and forth, but it's something that happens on a regular basis. Dex, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I mean, it's almost like it's like every week we're going to hear this over and over again. At some point, though, things have to change. If they're just going to keep doing, unless they just keep doing the same thing. And I think the thing we have to worry about is when it does change, when actions become, physical, when planes take down other planes, when encounters accidentally get too close and something else happens. I think that's when we're gonna see things start to ramp up, and the reason why it's so scary is because these things that we're doing, like we push the borders, or we push the edge, or we want to encroach in what we would call territorial or open sea areas, and they're going to call their own territorial waters. We do that for various reasons. We do it to secure the openness of it from our point of view, and they want to keep it closed on their point of view. But just like we saw in the Black Sea with the drone, it's like things will happen and can happen very easily and go from just rhetoric to action to physical action that then causes a negative consequence. And I guarantee you, if a ship takes a hit, a plane collides with another one, and someone unfortunately perishes from that, those types of things are going to quickly escalate and cause problems, and they're happening so frequently because of the tension has built so high, which also is a sure sign of we're not heading in the right direction towards peace. We're heading in the wrong direction towards conflict. So if this is the direction we're headed, then conflict is all over the horizon, and it may be just over the horizon. It could be at any moment, the way things keep going.
And as you can see on the pictures on screen, there's airfields, there's SAM missiles, there are ports for ships, and these are actually older photos. There's newer ones where they have parts of their Navy docked at some of these islands. Somebody commented that they said, well, they only have 3. I don't know. I don't even know how many they have now, but as you can see, there's many different islands that they've made and done this. They're making all sorts of new progress in this. This was a multi-story building they're building on one of these. These did not exist. These were islands that did not exist 10 years ago. They might have been like a grassy knoll or a little peak that peaked up above, but you can see it's deep enough water for their ships to get in and out, but it's shallow enough that they can actually pile up the dirt and make new islands. These look like defensive castles. I mean, look at this. There's like actual defensive. Look at how they've got the octagons on the corners there. It's pretty crazy. And they're not stopping there. They're now developing new technology. Look at all of the different islands they've done this to. You can tell by their general shape that that they are most definitely doing all. I don't know if this is the. There's a crazy looking ship that actually does the digging. But yeah, it's only getting crazier. And then Iran reaching uranium above 60% could prompt Israel strike. This is what they're officially saying is what they believe is going to happen. So if Iran gets uranium to the point of 60% level, that they will take action. And Israel has also said that they do not care if they have our help or not, that they will strike regardless of what we say. If we say, we'll join you, we won't. You should do it or you shouldn't. they say they will, no matter what, take action on these things. So this is a flashpoint for a WW3 situation, so we are watching it very closely. It says an IAEA report from last month claims that Iran has gathered 87.5 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium. Weapons-grade uranium is 90% enriched, which would be enough for a nuclear bomb. Basically, they don't want them to get to the level where they have nukes, if they don't already have it. The IAEA says that Iran has produced a small amount of uranium particles enriched up to 83.7% purity. Israel official told Axios that they are not concerned about that because Tehran reportedly did not amass the particles at that level. Pentagon official told Congress last month that Iran could produce enough fissile material for a nuclear bomb in 12 days. That was, again, last month. Back in 2018, then the previous administration decided to leave JCPOA. It would have taken Iran about 12 months to produce one bomb's worth of fissile material. Under the Secretary of Defense for Policy, Colin Kahl, said now it would take about 12 days. So if they want to, I'm sure they're going to finger point between all the administration says, your administration this, your administration that. Either way, it's not heading in a good direction if this is true. Real quick, NTG, I wanted to say thank you. I appreciate your super chat and being the last one out of the last show. Thank you. I appreciate that. Ashlyn Maki says, my husband and I watch your show all the time. Today we used your link and signed up for the VPN. Thanks for the referral and up-to-date news we can trust. Ashlyn, thank you guys. And I appreciate both of you watching, and I'm glad that you make it a family affair. Thank you, Ashlyn, and say hello to your hubby. Be Real Beast, I love to be the A-hat, but wake up, everyone. You've been played. They took you for every cent earned. Inflation is not what you think. It's been squandered from the beginning. Please plant it and secure it. God bless. Be Real, I don't think that's horrible advice. But obviously it's not my statement, but I actually agree with that. Joseph Newhouse says neutrino puffs tricks are for kids. Yeah, that's what they're collecting them for the newest cereals. I think they'll have Winnie the Pooh as their mascot. And then Pam B says, thanks, Marf. My messages are being trashed. Pam B. DMs or what? I don't know. But just so you know, if you are on Twitter, I have to accept all new messages. So it takes me a while to get to anybody that is not already in my DMs. Basically, I have to accept if I'm not following that person or anything else. Let's see here. Carol, thank you. I appreciate that. Andreas Binder. In Austria, this would be the amount of money to get drugs at the pharmacy for Dex's voice. Says from Europe, says Andreas Binder. So yeah, he's not, by the way, it doesn't sound like it's just allergies. Dex said that he's probably got a head cold. Dex never gets sick in the years I've worked with him, so it's pretty rare, actually. Ryan B., you guys are great. Thank you all. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And YVR Prep. Sorry about that. Sending love and support from Vancouver, Canada. Well, thank you, and I appreciate everybody who supports the show. Thank you so much, and thank you for supporting Independent. All right, and missiles slam into another U.S. base in Syria. Iran-backed militants retaliate after the U.S. strikes. Dex, do you want to hit this if you can?
So we talked last night about the first round. So apparently a drone had hit and unfortunately had killed a contractor, a U.S. contractor at a U.S. base, and injured many other soldiers. We then did a launch yesterday against this Iran-backed group. And now in retaliation for that, they've sent again another round of missiles. So this and you know, I think I've got this opinion about it that it almost feels like they're trying to escalate things into another front, and I don't know if we'll go that far, but it certainly seems like they're willing to draw us back in by doing this, because if the circle has to keep going, like we have to respond and then they respond and we respond, it's just gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger. And if that's the case, then where does that leave us? Do we end up going all the way back in? Do we end up expanding and having to carry on multiple fronts? Because we're obviously doing something in Europe, even though we don't have our own boots. Well, we do have our boots on the ground. They're just not supposed to be in the UKR land, but we're definitely there with NATO. We're definitely distracted with it. We're definitely giving all of our munitions and support and everything else to them. I've often suggested that we're going to see this across three fronts. You've got obviously what is going on in Europe. You've got everything that can strike off from the South China Sea up to Taiwan and all the way up to NK with the Pacific. So we've got all that, and then throw the ME and back into the mix. If you heat that area up, whether it's between Iran and Is, or if it's in this case using Syria as a surrogate again, then you're going to basically put our military in a position where we're spread across 2 to potentially 3 different fronts. So right now it's in the early stages if that's going to actually happen. Certainly the threat between Is and Iran is very significant, but and what may come of that is probably more likely. But to see this level of literally within less than 24 hours, it feels like we've seen 3 rounds of lobbying back and forth around a military base there. So this is not necessarily good news at all, and definitely not for the service members that are getting injured or the civilian contractor that had lost their life over this.
Well, I guess we have one thing to look forward to. At least their missiles aren't pointy. See, if they're not pointy, they're not scary, as Borat said, right? Russian fighter jets are circling a U.S. airbase in Syria a week after the fiery confrontation between Russian jets and the U.S. drone. By the way, if you are active military and you want to let us know what you think about this, you can always tell us. You don't have to, you can always stay anonymous if you would like. But there are several events that have potentially happened this week that the media is not covering. So if you have any information on that, let me know without getting yourself in trouble. If it's something you can say, again, we will keep that anonymous as well. But I'd love to know what is actually happening over there, and if you have info on this or stuff that you can share, let us know. It says that Russian fighter jets have encircled a U.S. airbase in Syria dozens of times in March, potentially heightening tensions after a U.S. drone was down following a confrontation. We all know about that. Of course, the Reaper drone was taken out. It says Russian aircraft have zoomed over a U.S. airbase in Syria more than 25 times this month, violating a 2019 agreement between the U.S. and Russia over the use of Syrian airspace in areas which each country has their military outposts. So it seems like they're just forgetting all of the different agreements, and that kind of makes sense. They've dropped out of all of the other ones. It sounds like they are really not, they're not honoring any of the agreements at this point, if this is true. It says Lieutenant General Alexis Grinkwich, the Combined Forces Air Component Commander for U.S. Central Command, told the outlet that the flights have increased during the month of March. On March 14th, the 2 Russian Su-27 jets approached, poured fuel on, and then clipped the MQ-9 Reaper. And, of course, they forcing the U.S. to down the damaged drone. In Syria, Gwankwich said that the Russian jets swarming over the U.S. at Tanif Garrison Outpost has created an uncomfortable situation. It says, quote, they're regularly flying directly overhead of our units, and I've defined directly overhead as in about within a mile. No more than a mile offset one side or the other. Well, we've got forces right there on the ground. So it's an uncomfortable situation. Essentially saying that they're flying directly overhead, that they could drop something and it would hit them if they did open their bays. In January, Russian forces circled the U.S. airbase 14 times, according to NBC, and did not fly over the base in February at all. It just increases the risk of miscalculation, and given things like the MQ-9 incident, It's not the kind of behavior that I would expect out of a professional Air Force. The Pentagon and U.S. CENTCOM did not immediately respond to the request, but it says that Russian and U.S. troops have both had a military presence in Syria since at least 2015, according to NBC News. The U.S. opened deconfliction phone line with the Russians to ease tensions, and over calls with the U.S., Russian military personnel have said that they don't recognize the U.S. base or airspace. The Russians have, over the last several months, seemed to abandon that tenet of the protocols. So this is where a big mistake could end up happening. If these events are happening, then it's something that could very well spiral out of control. Or at least they'll tell us it did. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is back-to-back, in this case, it's back-to-back events with the air pilots, but it's also two different issues happening in the same country. And it leads me to believe, and this is just my opinion, that it's quite possible that Russia could be working with Iran to escalate things there. And these types of tactics are those things to help build that tension. And if they can get us to be more involved in another area, they're hoping that it's a form of distraction for our own military to help them with what they're trying to accomplish in UKR. That's just my opinion. This could all just go away tomorrow and it's, back to normal. But, when you see this going back and forth, and then these flights, they're not talking like, it happened once or twice. They're talking over and over again, flying right on top of the base. And that's like literally you would think that they would take action upon a plane like that, because when it's coming over you, that's pretty serious. Like it can, if you don't react, it could probably take you out immediately. And you have no time to react. So I guess sort of kudos for them for not reacting. Because obviously taking down a Russian plane would be huge. But at the same time, that's pretty dangerous too on their part. So I think that they're escalating this intentionally. That's what it looks like to me. And again, that's just my opinion. The news doesn't say that.
And many of the pictures of that outpost, if any one of these guys freaked out, grabbed one of these 50 cals and started shooting at it, we'd be at war. Let's see here. Before we move on, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/EMP. There is a way you can actually protect yourself against an EMP strike, an electromagnetic pulse, and a CME, a coronal mass ejection. These devices can be wired into your vehicles, your cars, your trucks, your boats, your RVs, especially if you actually live RV or van lifer, then this is a very important tool. This can be wired in less than 10 minutes into a vehicle and protected against all three phases of an EMP and a Carrington level event. So if one of those happens, or when a CME does hit, your car will be able to bug out or bug in or be able to get wherever you need to get to be able to do so. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. This is the same company that has now been outfitting agencies like DHS, DOD, and now the DEMSO team helping the Texas grid. This also can be wired into your home. If you get the home version, you have to have an electrician do it, but it is far worth it, because once you do, within 250 linear feet of where it's wired in, everything will be protected that's plugged in. So it saves you a lot of hassle if you don't want to put everything you own into a Faraday cage. Otherwise, this site, and again, this company, they are actually really, really cool. They will teach you how to do a Faraday cage. If you can't afford their stuff, they have actually done side projects teaching people how to get around buying their products. They are really, really cool. It's a veteran-owned company. It's 100% American-made down to the screws. They are just absolutely great people. All of the founders are in our community as far as prepping. Andrew has actually, before he did EMP Shield, he was a prepper community YouTuber. So again, these guys are really, really cool. They have now grown a whole lot in the last couple years, now doing, obviously agencies like DHS and DOD. They got big fast. We didn't know if they were actually going to sell these to civilians at one point after they got massive contracts under the Trump administration. So again, go over and check them out. Make sure to get them. marfooglenews.com/EMP. Some of my peers have even said that at some point the gov might even ban people from using stuff like this. I don't know if they could ever do that, but man, wouldn't that be something? marfooglenews.com/EMP, and you get $50 off per device, and you help our channel out at the same time while protecting yourself. And then Russians starting to evacuate from occupied Crimea, says UKR intelligence. So we take everything with a grain of salt, but it very well could be true. Maybe they are getting ready for a battle there. This will not make a lot of people happy. Most people said that they did not want their support for this UKR conflict basically entailed only defensive measures. Going into Crimea and taking it back, some do see that as a valid point because it was taken in 2014. So if they are going to try to go back in and take it back, some support it, some don't. But most don't support them going straight up into Russia, and doing that. It says a day before, local residents heard warnings on FM stations that they should be ready to leave. He said, adding that this warning refers to those who have collaborated with the enemy. In order for peace and order to be restored there, the peninsula should be deoccupied so the legal UKR authorities can return there. The official website of the UKR intelligence quoted Yusuf as saying, actually, Crimea should be returned to its home Ukrainian harbor, which is bound to happen in the near future. Therefore, all of those who work for Russia should really leave the territory of UKR Crimea in the near future, he said. It says Russian commanders and the occupiers' administration are very active selling real estate and taking their families out of Crimea, the intelligence representative said. So basically saying that they're selling their houses and they're bouncing out. But they told the rest, like ordinary soldiers, not to worry, that everything is calm and everything is under their control. But it really has become a meme that the so-called special operation is going according to plan. Families associated with Russians are being taken out, and quite promptly, and it is a sign for all of those who tied their destiny with the criminal Kremlin regime. That was, again, a quote, not what I am saying. This is coming from UKR intelligence. In the very beginning, the first 6 months of this battle, the only side that we got was from UKR intelligence, which if you really think hard and you know the truth, UKR and Russia basically went to the same exact school of Ganda. So they have very similar tactics. They are genetically, these two countries are very connected. I mean, these are, as they say, brothers and cousins and family members, brothers and sisters, essentially. So a lot of their tactics are the same. We don't know what is Ganda, and there's positive and negative Ganda in every conflict. Obviously, to push something they want to push or to unpush something they don't want. Dex, there's other things that are going into this as well, as far as why they think that Crimea might be, an attempt back at Crimea will be taken. It sounds like Russia won't like that.
Yeah, and one of those just last night we talked about, which was the recent alarms that were going off in Crimea because there was in the northern area because there were drone attacks coming from UKR. So again, we're seeing, they've seen some smaller things happen over the course of this time. But just recently, we're seeing a much higher level of escalation. So when you're seeing them UKR reach across the border into Russia, when you see them reach across the water into Crimea and make these actions, that's something that they weren't doing a while back. So this is new, and I think that it goes hand in hand, and all of that could be Ganda for all we know. None of us are there. But all we can do is report what we're seeing and try and connect the dots. So we had that last night. We had that event that was going on there, and now we have this, piece of news coming out that's sort of suggesting that they're actually trying to get the people out, or at least the high-level people are, which they would be the ones that see the writing on the wall before anyone else, are making plans to move, sell houses, and get out. So that doesn't bode well for Vlad. Now, again, if it's all Ganda, it doesn't bode well for Vlad either way, because it's not good PR, and if it's really happening, it's not good activity. It doesn't show a lot of strength and confidence. So we'll have to see how it plays out, but definitely there's multiple things happening. They've been talking about it. It's important. They, being UKR, have been talking about taking Crimea as their next step. So we expect to see that, just as much as, people say that, or in Russia, they say they're going to go for, Moldova or Poland next. So it's kind of the same on both sides. Now they actually have to make progress over there to really do it. It can't just be words.
And if you are not familiar with Crimea, as you know, many people outside of where they live probably couldn't point to it on a map. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. Most people don't study, any of this kind of stuff. But anybody that does knows that Crimea has some of the most beautiful architecture in the world, along with, there's all sorts of European countries that have these really just unbelievable buildings. It'll be really sad to see any country in war lose a lot of these kind of buildings. If you saw that, like, look at these castles. Look at these beach castles. This is something out of a fantasy movie. UKR, again, has tons of crazy, really, really old and amazing architecture. We'll see what happens here. And then let's see here. Yeah, look at this. This is just, looks like such a crazy place. It's got that port, the water right there with all of the docks, with all of the yachts there in the middle. What a crazy looking city or place. And then Denmark invites Russia, energy giant, to help recover mystery object found near Nord Stream pipeline hit by, quote, sabotage. Say that lightly because obviously it's been insane since this thing happened. Denmark has invited the Russian-controlled operator of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline to help recover a mystery object that was spotted near the pipeline 6 months after sections were sabotaged. Russian President Vlad, who revealed the discovery of the object earlier this month, said experts believe that it could be a signal antenna to activate an explosive in that part of the pipeline. German, Swedish, and Danish authorities are investigating the undersea explosions that sparked 4 leaks on the 2 stream pipelines in the Baltic Sea in September, 7 months after Russia invaded UKR. The Danish Energy Agency released a photo late Thursday of the cylindrical object standing near the Nord Stream 2 pipeline at the bottom of the sea. The agency said that it is possible that the object is a maritime smoke buoy, 16 inches tall and 4 inches wide, and that it does not pose an immediate safety risk. With the view to further clarifying the nature of the object, Danish authorities have decided to salvage the object with assistance from the Danish defense. So could it prove something? Is it a smoking bang bang that basically says who did it? It's still a mystery. But it is most definitely it's worth noting. Dax, go ahead.
I grabbed the photo of it and put it in a screener for you. My opinion is they're not going to invite them in if it's anything that they don't know what it is in advance. I think this is just to, and again, my opinion. I think it's just to placate them, to give them throw them a bone, so to speak. They know whatever that is that's down there, and they're saying, "Yeah, you can come retrieve that with us. Come along," because they're not going to. If the idea that somebody was involved in this from a NATO country, there's no way they're going to just say, "Yeah, come over here and start looking." They're going to continue their investigation, and they're going to hide all the information, which is what they've done. They haven't released anything. They haven't told anybody anything. This is actually one of the first things they've told us. Outside of, it was, like you said, it was actually an event, and it was actually Sabo. So But yeah, this thing looks like it's been there for a long time too. So I don't think it's a radio communicator that was just there in the last year.
Well, undersea, this can happen extremely fast. That's what I thought too. To be honest, when I first saw the picture, I swiped out. I was like, whoa, what the heck are we looking at here? But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to reference it's supposed to look like, but I don't see an antenna. But you can't get a scope on the pictures. You can't get a scope on. It says 16 inches tall, so it's a little bit over a foot. So this thing's really small. It's like this big. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then thank you, everybody. Thank you over on D Live. Texas Rob, thank you for stopping by. Greetings to Adam and Dex. Thank you. Yobi, thank you for the lemons and the diamonds over on D Live. Kimbria, thank you. What is going on over on Rumble? Thank you guys for being there. Appreciate all of you. Cognitable. Savannah Sushi is here. Hey, nice to see you. And then Medvedev begins to threaten that Russian army might attack Lviv. It says Dmitry Medvedev, Deputy Secretary of the Security Council of Russia, has said in an interview with Russian propagandists that to achieve, quote, goals in the war, the Russian army may not only go to Kiev, but also to Lviv. So this was the part where we talked about earlier on the cell phone short that I did over on news. They're essentially adding in Lviv to this. It says nothing can be ruled out here. If we have to go to Kiev, then we will go to Kiev. If we have to go to Lviv, then we will have to go to Lviv in order to destroy this infection. That is what he called it. Dax, Medvedev has said all sorts of it's like his job is they're like, hey, can you come up with something nuts to say today? You know, something super threatening and bulldogish to say. And he's like, yeah, I'm on it. And he just kind of pulls off his boot and throws it at a board or something with a bunch of words.
Yeah, he's always got something. He's like the daily mouthpiece over there. For those of you that don't know, just for what it's worth, Lviv is one of the furthest west. It's the city closest to Poland. So it would be literally, if they go to Lviv, they've basically gone the entire country. They've gone complete from one side to the other of UKR. So it's a big statement to make because they really haven't gone that far into UKR. They've just basically done the far eastern borders and from the south as well. So it's a big statement, but you know, it does show the ideas or the opinions that they have, but at the same time, it's probably a little bit of chest beating too, because it's not like they've made a lot of progress.
No. And, 20% of the country is roughly where they are, right? This would be near 100% if they end up getting there. And then Nordic countries plan joint air defense to counter Russian threats. Just real quick, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. If you haven't already, you can also get 25 years shelf life food there and get it at a discount. Right now, it's $200 off, which is the largest discount they've ever done. They did it before, and of course, they then changed it to the Alexa Pure Pro. It is now back. We don't know how long it's going to last, so make sure to go over and check it out. You can get 25-year shelf life food that will be good in 2052. That, again, you will also not have to pay exorbitant prices if it goes up in value in the next 5 years. Some look at it as an investment. You can also get anti-radiation tablets there. You can get all sorts of cool stuff. So make sure to press the tab at the top of the page to see all of the other survival gear, cooking gear, tools, power, lighting, stoves, all sorts of other cool stuff. marfooglenews.com/prep. Thank you guys for supporting Independent. And then they plan this huge drill out of Copenhagen. Air Force commanders from Sweden, Norway, Finland, and Denmark said on Friday they have signed a letter of intent to create a unified Nordic air defense aimed at countering the rising threat from Russia. The intention is to be able to operate jointly based is already known ways of operating under NATO, according to statements by the four countries' armed forces. The move to integrate the air forces was triggered by Russia's invasion of UKR in February of last year. That was Major General Jan Dam told Reuters. Said that our combined fleet can be compared to a large European country. Norway has 57 F-16s, 37 F-35s, and with 15 more of the latter on order. Finland has 62 FA-18 Hornet jets and 64 F-35s. Denmark has 58 F-16s and 27 F-35s on order. Sweden has more than 90 Gripens jets, which I believe the Gripens, I'm trying to think about which ones the Gripens are. Here, let's get a picture of the Gripens. What the heck is a Gripens? I've never heard of that one. Oh. I was expecting, I don't know how old these are or what gen these are, but they look pretty snazzy. Just 39 Grapen. Brazil has them as well. Look at that. So, and then it says it is unclear how many of those planes were operational. The signing of the Ramstein Air Base in Germany last week was attended by NATO Air Command Chief General James Hecker, who was overseeing the U.S. Air Force in the region. Sweden and Finland applied to join the transatlantic military alliance last year, but the process has been held up by Turkey, which along with Hungary has yet to ratify the memberships, which Sweden and Finland have always been incredibly neutral. They have never been in this position before. So when this all first started, of course, all of us asked, how big is this really if those countries are going to join? It says, we would like to see if we can integrate our airspace surveillance more so we can use radar data from each other's surveillance systems and use them collectively. We are not doing that today. So even if they don't get right into NATO, Dex, it sounds like they're working together militarily without being in NATO. But that doesn't mean Article 4 or Article 5 will be invoked if one of these countries is attacked. But they are basically preparing for it to happen.
That's absolutely correct.
So, and before we go into the next, thank you, everybody. Thanks for popping in, guys. I can't see YouTube for some reason. Here, hold on. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Be Real Beast. Make sure to go say hello in the chat. If you don't chat very often, make sure to pop in. We are still live on YouTube, correct?
Oh yeah, over 3,000.
Okay. Huh. And then Be Real Beast. Thank you, Lord McCormick, loud and clear. My daughter is 17 in ROTC. I'll have to sign her away, as well as the apple doesn't fall from the tree. Remember, it's the people, not the government. 111. And then Lord McCormick says, much love, GB family. To clarify, in Great Britain, legal ages drive 17, drink 18 to join RAF is 15 years and 9 months. He's been a senior cadet for 2 years, wants to be a pilot, but feels confused as his dad won't support him, but I'm aware. Huh. And then Moody Mom, thank you. And Carol, thank you for the super stickers. Appreciate you. And then frontline UKR soldiers say it seems like Russia has unlimited artillery shells to throw at them while they're worried about running out. So this was to put in there. They put all this stuff out there saying that they were out of everything. None of us believed that. They said that, they're going to be out of, they'll only have enough missiles for 3 more attacks. They don't have any more artillery. They're running out of everything. Meanwhile, this is an opinion that says it seems like Russia has unlimited artillery shells to throw at them while they remain worried about running out by the end of the year. So they're saying that they might run out, but it seems like Russia has unlimited supplies. It says they have an unlimited amount of shells. They have an entire warehouses full of them. One soldier, identified as Dima, said they could shoot all day and they'll never run out of shells. And what about us, Dima asked? We will run out of shells this year. That's not a good sign if you are rooting for UKR. And then Kremlin Nepo, baby, ditches ankle monitor and flees the U.S. extradition. Dex, do you want to cover this one?
Yeah, so this guy is, I think he's like the grandson of a governor, or the son of a governor in Russia, and he's been held, I guess, held up in house arrest in Italy, and they were trying to bring him back or extradite him to the U.S. For whatever charges they have on him, as part of the ongoing what's happening and whatnot. But he decided to ditch the ankle bracelet and fled, and he's they're looking for him. He's like gone. He took off. So Italy doesn't have him anymore. They're searching for him. And he's on the run. So kind of an interesting story, but it goes hand in hand with what's going on with UKR. It's one of the governors from Russia. And I don't remember what exactly they want with him, but I think it's something like laundering money. I'm sure they've got all sorts of charges they can bring upon anybody they need to when they need to. They, especially with these international deals. So, but I'm pretty sure it's money laundering and some other things like that. But and also looking to buy U.S. military tech was probably the other one I'm remembering now. But the whole idea is that now he's on the run. Just ditch the ankle monitor. Now, mind you, you ditch the ankle monitor, I think the alarm goes off, and aren't they supposed to like show up right away? So I guess that didn't work. So maybe this will let everyone else know that if you've got one of those on in Italy, that even if you're high profile like this guy is, it's must be easy to slip out.
If you're at that level and if you're multi-millionaire from laundering money for all, you have probably a head start. I think that the cops said, oh, well, just another 10 minutes and then we'll go find him. Who knows? Let's see here. Thank you for the super thanks, Jimmy Wright, 7167. Thank you, Kelly, Z3C3D. Thank you for the super thanks on We Could Lose Everything, and then needs to be addressed. Jimmy Wright, thank you for your super thanks. Thank you, mods, for keeping it held down in the chat tonight. We'll pop over there. Let's see if we can. I don't know why it's not showing up. It's weird. Let's see here. Thank you, guys. Let's see if I can... There we go. Where is this thing? Huh. I cannot see chat anymore. Hold on. There we go. Castor Troy says, when are you guys going to realize on the world stage, you guys, your government only, are the bad guys? Castor Troy, I think most of us do realize that, but there's a very odd dichotomy where most of us are patriots. So we love our country, but that doesn't mean you have to love the people running it. Well, that's the weird thing too, is you can be accused of carrying somebody's water, carrying Vlad's water, if you at all question what's happening right now. But at the same time, nobody's a fan of Russia. You just know that there's been a lot of really messed up stuff that's been done by all countries. Think about this. Every president in the world has taken the lives of innocent people. They will literally take the life of somebody. This is where they say nobody's above the law. The government is, because guess what? If somebody saw something they weren't supposed to see that was classified, they will be taken out, even if they did not commit any crime themselves. If you look at what we do with people that are suspected T suspects, right? Guantanamo Bay type of stuff. There's no trial. There's no nothing. They can hold them indefinitely, and they basically just disappear off the planet of the Earth. That's scary. That is so scary. And then to find out that how involved they are in the freedom is an illusion, and it's more of like how do you play the game right so you have freedom, right? You have to play the game to have freedom. That's not freedom. If you can't do certain things, I understand there's the obvious things that you don't do to keep your freedom, but Dex, go ahead.
Oh, I also think that, no matter what is happening, we don't necessarily pick sides. We talk about what's going on, because at the end of the day, the people that are doing this are at the top. It's not us. It's not the people that live in the country. The people that live in Russia are not the problem. The people that live in China are not the problem. People that live in the US are not the problem. It is the leaderships of these countries that cause these conflicts. Now, we do our part as best we can with as much freedom as we may or may not have, depending on what country you live in, to do things like, bring the right representation forward if you can. Some countries you can't do that. But at the end of the day, what we're reporting, what we're talking about, it will affect people's lives. And it's not the people at the top who get affected. It's the people at the bottom, the sons and daughters that have to go into these hot zones, that have to, or the countries that have people that have to live there, and it's in their hometown where this is happening. So it's not about sides. It's about what's going on and how do we prepare for what's coming. It's not necessarily we're rooting one side over the other. At the end of the day, if it's going to go down, which is kind of clear, we talk about it's pretty clear it's going to escalate into Europe. It's going to probably escalate something in the Middle East, and we know what's coming with G and Taiwan, if not more, in the Pacific. That's all coming. We're not rooting for it, but what we do is we talk about it so that we can understand how we can be prepared for it. Sometimes that preparedness is a mental preparedness. Sometimes it's understanding what your family may be involved in if they're the ones that are sent over, or if you have family over there that are living in those areas. So that's how I look at it. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not the ones in charge, and I'm not trying to dismiss the wrongdoings of our country or any other country. They're all imperfect. It's because they're all led by all these leaders that make these decisions, and we have to all deal with the consequences of those. But again, we do our best as individual citizens, and that's all we can really hope for. I think the other thing is that we want to get right with our spirit and our our personal beliefs, so that we're in a position to be ready for what may be coming.
Dekaj, I think it was. Dekaj said the people at the top are being told what to do. Just prepare. That's our point. It doesn't matter. There's only so much we can do to control the situation, but we can prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Lone and Truth, can you guys please kumbaya whatever is going on? If you're having religious differences, do it respectfully. Jammer 1, Carol, thank you. And then thank you, mods. And because you guys are both appreciated. You guys can argue as much as you want, but if you do argue, it's not going to change the other person's perspective. It might even put their walls up and make them further go the opposite way, no matter which side you're on. WS Jen, again, this should be a no stress place you can come after work and talk with like-minded people, even if they don't have to be exactly the like-minded. Again, they could believe something that absolutely offends you. But the whole thing about our show and what we try to do in our community is that does not trigger you. You cannot get triggered. The whole trigger thing now that's been happening in the last, and it's always happened. People have a certain trigger point. We have to get past that. If we're going to evolve whatsoever as human beings, we got to stop getting triggered. Everybody is triggered by everything, and it's to the point where people are offended for other people. Gosh, if you've seen a funny example of that is in the Bert Kreischer stand-up, talking about how he, cracked jokes with the black Starbucks employee. Other people get offended now, and it's a popular thing to do. People get offended for other people. It's just not. It's. Let's all get over it. Let's talk like human beings. Let's see here. Mindy, nice to see you. Carol says, my heart is open. BNG 2.0. Let's see here. The word trigger triggers me, says D-Truth. It does too, yeah. We got to come up with a new one. How about the little hangy thing on a bang bang? Let's just stick with trigger. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate everybody that came tonight. Thank you, everybody that made it tonight to the live chat. Dex, thank you for your service tonight. Let's go over the web only.
Yeah, let's head over to marfooglenews.com. For those of you that are new here, we've got the rest of the story. So just head over to the website, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up the show notes link. It's in the description on YouTube and Rumble. It's easy to get to. When you scroll down, you're going to see all the news we just covered. So if you're looking for our sources, it's there. Then you hit this yellow bar. This is overflow. So there's an entire set of content here that we've put together for you. Some of the content is, edgy subjects that a lot of people want to argue about. Sometimes it's just additional color and clarity to what's going on. So if you're looking for it, it's all right here. Some updates. One interesting one is this whole notion about the alert that we talked about that's going on in UK. Now they're throwing the theorists under the bus for it. So you can see what the mainstream's writing about it. But we've covered this. We've talked about it before, both the presidential one and now the one that's happening. Adam, is that April 23rd? If I got that, do I have that right?
Yeah, and guess what? You know that my video is probably a part of that. It's got, that. What's funny is that I don't think people realize it. Like, our video the other day is probably all over the place, but they don't make mention of it. It's 120 something thousand views, so I bet you this is what they're basing on. As far as but they're I did not know about the whole thing, and when I did see it, I was like, oh gosh, so what? They're not going to let you question it? You can't question it, even though Edward Snowden and others have come out and said that this is the kind of thing. It's they say conspiracist channels. Why do they call anybody that for questioning anything? It's where they label, and I'm sure that's not a very good thing, right? But yeah, look at that. I just said exactly what I said for the 2018 alert, which I said it first, and then respected folks said the same thing. So if a regular person like me can guess the possibilities with an alert like that, anybody can. And then to have, people like McAfee and Edward Snowden say, this is what they think it is. It's like, it's a possibility. So we should be able to talk about it. But of course, they call it that, right? But go ahead, Dex. It's just so stupid.
I thought you'd get a kick out of that, but it just when I saw it too, I was like, wow. I know we've talked about this numerous times, but yeah. Anyway, we'll move on. There's other stuff. That's not the only thing there, guys. Lots going on. A big crypto CEO named Justin Sun has the SEC has charged him, and they're coming after him for fraud. If you don't know, he owns Tron and BitTorrent, and those companies own some other stuff as well. I'll leave it at that. The Ave Loeb story, it's the same story we've covered, but if you haven't seen it, it's back in the news. They keep pushing it, but it's the Oumuamua story, so that's there. We do have some of the updates of what was going on with in Canada. We have updates with what's going on with the Pontiff. We have updates with what's happening in UKR. So there's a lot of other stories going on around UKR. All the little details of, did they win this? Who sent those tanks, etc. All of that is covered there in great detail. Of course, we do have some of the updates around the political spectrum. The main thing is, when it comes to T-Man right now, that whole deal has now been yet pushed off again till next week. We'll see if that's even going to happen. It might even be a complete nothing burger at this point, but the media is eating it up. So you've got all sides of that story there if you'd like it. A little bit of more of an update with what's going on with France, and some banking, as well as other updates with Deutsche Bank and others that are happening. All of that is right there. It's on the website. It's the rest of the story. If you're not going there, you're missing out on it. So it's real easy. We put it together for you every night. Just head over to marfooglenews.com, click the thumbnail for the show, or open up the show notes link in the description. It'll take you right here. You can get to all of that information and peruse it at your pleasure.
Yeah, just watch what they do with that. That's just stupid. Thank you so much, everybody, for stopping by, and appreciate everybody. It makes me question why we don't ever get those kind of views. So it's like, do they want it to go viral so then they can make a big deal out of it? I don't know. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. All right, let's make a fresh one. I believe tonight's top supporter would be... Actually, it's a tie between Be Real Beast, Andreas Binder, and Lord McCormick. Thank you, guys. with the Lord McCormick by my side.